In fact, maybe just to apply to them now, because if they've managed to get a mortgage to buy their first property, they've passed their first hurdle, which is having their credit score in a good place. So they need to have access to deposit. But before we even start, in fact, let me just backtrack. So the first thing is they have to have a clear plan of what they want to do. It's always better for you to start with an end in mind. So what am I trying to build? What must I have in place, which will be looking at your deposit and then looking at your affordability. So depending on where you're trying to buy, that's where your strategy will determine what you end up acquiring. So if you're trying to buy down south and you just bought down south, unless you've got a huge pocket, then you can afford to buy here. But if you haven't, then it's trying to find other areas. Now, it's not just in the northeast, by the way. So people will buy properties in the Midlands because it's cheaper. The moment you begin to move away from London and going, other places, then it becomes affordable for many people. So I don't know where they're at, but that will be the first thing. There's no hindrance to say, because you bought one house today, you can't buy another one next month. No, there's no such thing. So you can buy another one. You just have to qualify with a purchase. Would you say so, David?
Yeah, I would say so. I would also just add to that, if the first property, about the affordability, if the first property that they've bought is rented out, that would have a positive effect on the next purchase. But if it's a purchase that's been made in their personal name and they're living there, that's essentially, there's going to be a debt on that. There's no income being generated, so the affordability has to be higher. So if it is rented out, it will make the second purchase a lot easier, I think, on affordability.
Thank you. And I've got a question here, and then I'll come to you. And this is to Caroline. You mentioned doing something for women, a building of some sort. How much closer are you to achieving this?
I'm very close towards that goal. I still have, I would say, maybe another year and a half before I can get there. So it's not a small project. And remember, it's charity. And the way that I operate in a place of sustainability. I would not like to start something that doesn't end up growing the length of time because I can't afford to maintain it. So it's making sure that I have a lot of income coming in. Remember, it's going to be charity, so I need to have a lot of money coming through. So I am about a year and a half, I believe, and I'll be there. It's in the UK, yes. In Africa, we do have those projects. So Africa is a different, because Africa maybe is a lot easier and cheaper for me. So we work with schools. So right now we're building a school to children in my country, in this particular location. It's not out of like in the States. It literally is in the city. 500 children come to this education learning center in an okay area. However, there's no structure. So they learn in this girl's mum's bedroom, kitchen, dining, lounge, and outside. So when it's raining, there's no school. So that's the majority of where we're going, what we're doing right now, building that school. Then the next big venture will be this particular one in the UK. I believe in being a blessing everywhere. I won't have just a geographical location to say I can only do it in England or just in Africa. Anywhere you will be, even your neighbor, you can become a blessing.
Thank you so much.
So one is around the due diligence. So say you want to get an active investor. You're based in the south and the properties are in the north. How practical is it to do your due diligence? You know, you were talking about how you work time just to get feet off the street and stuff. That bit, could you get someone, say you're based in the south, are there people that do that kind of thing in the ways?
Okay, so if you're active, it means you are the one, which means you must be time rich. And so therefore, if you're asking how would you do it, you allocate similar amount of times, similar to what David is doing. So even though he's based in the north, he actually lives down south. And then he goes up there for a number of days and comes back. So part of your time allocation is what will determine what's possible for you. So if you've got 24 hours over 3 days, that means those day 1, 2, 3, I'm up there, due diligence, purchasing, offering, buying, day 4, 5, coming back, paperwork, admin, etc. And that becomes your time rich. But if you're time poor, then it's a different story, passive. It would not be practical at all. Even though we're doing this, David doesn't manage the properties, by the way. All we have done is establish a system that allows people to have peace of mind. Local person that knows the area and the people as the management agent, not any other general one, and therefore they are responsible 100% to manage all of that. So it's not you doing it as an active investor. If you want to be active, the rule of thumb is try and be within a radius of maximum hour, okay, for you to get to. If you have a HMO and you more than an hour, you've got 6 bedrooms or 8 bedrooms in one house, to rent all of those ones will require a lot of viewings before it's full. So imagine the 1 hour drives every time for the viewings before it's full. Man, operational-wise frustrating. So you want to try and do things that are reasonable within as an active investor. So time is crucial as an active investor as opposed to being a passive one. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Thank you. Another question is, how in lockdown did you research the 32 properties you bought?
Mr. David did that. So basically, I'm not sure if you remember, when the first lockdown happened, the restrictions to enter properties meant that people couldn't actually access the homes. So there was still some purchases that were taking place except creatively. Then the next lockdown, there was guidelines as to what you could do, but still, because it slowed the economy down big time. So that was introduced. So when David was doing it, he started off with the ones that we would do the viewings, okay, and do the viewings online. And then that moved to, from online, now we do the viewings, but precaution, masks, all the different things, shoes off, whatever the vendors are asking for, that's how you do it. So the key was just he had to just get it done. And Mummy would not let him be, like, you better be there now.
Thank you. There's a question online. Is there a strategy to negotiating the price of a property when there is renovation work to be done on the property?
Definitely. Massive. So you can get those deals pretty, and I'll give you a typical example of what we had done. So there was a particular property in a particular area, and the house was valued at 65,000. So this house was in an area where properties sell for 100, 120. So we bought that particular deal at 50,000 after negotiating because it was a bit run down. Spent 20 on it, sold it for 130. Yeah, now they don't all come about as easy as I'm saying, but they're there. Yeah, including the other ones, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, there's definitely opportunities like that. More so I've found on a couple of occasions when we have factored in the renovation cost before offering, and when the valuation comes back and there are things on the report that didn't come up that has given us an opportunity to renegotiate. We had one issue on a roof, which we thought would cost us a few thousand. Ended up costing actually 200-300 quid, so it wasn't that bad. But it was good for the investor. So it's just kind of making the most out of every opportunity that you get. So.
But I'll just add to that. The only thing you have to consider, if you're going to do things like that, there is a cost opportunity of time. So when you take that property, for example, to renovate the house is going to require a lot more supervision, getting the tradesmen, etc. So just factor the fact that just because you might be able to make 60 or 50,000 on it, there's actually money around your sweat equity. That time you could have been doing something else, you haven't. You're spending on that particular development. So from an investor's point of view, you think, okay, cost versus value. What will I do? What will I not do? So it is possible, but just bear in mind as well the refurbishment. Yeah.
Thank you very much. The other one is, how do you balance saving towards buying a property against just having money in the bank? Is it okay to leave the money and add to it, or do you have to invest it?
Different school of thought when it comes to that. The way that I would do it, again, it depends on your risk profile, okay? It's what you're prepared to put at risk in terms of growing that particular pot of money. So what I would do is put some of that money into a paper asset that I believe is maybe around index funds, because with them they're somewhat secure to some degree, as opposed to putting it in a more riskier opportunity when it comes to your paper assets, your stocks and shares or whatever. So I would put my money there. What I wouldn't do is to just leave it to sit around. So what I was doing at times, I would get, if I had cash, I had a business in Zambia, if I had cash in the business, I wouldn't let the money sit in the bank. I knew I'll put it on cash deposits on your, cash deposits, what are they? The short-term investment within the banks, what are they? Lord help me. Not treasury bills, TVs, yeah. So I'll put it in a treasury bill, I'll lock it for 60s or 90s, depending on when I needed the money. So leave it there so it still works, and then at the end, pull it out and then do something else with it. But for those who don't feel comfortable with the paper assets, parking it in the bank is a short-term thing, because you know that I'll leave it in for a short period, but then thereafter, you will put it into an investment, property investment, if that be the case. Yeah.
Thank you. And this, I'm sure this is a question on a lot of people's lips, so I'm going to ask this first. How much cash does a passive investor need to have to realistically start the property investment journey?
Amazing question, and we have the perfect answer for it. So what we did, we spent a fair bit of time, Shola is laughing, a fair bit of time to see the category of people that we are working with. Where are they financially? It's no good serving somebody whose access to money is huge if you don't want huge monies, or if you don't want to help those laws with different persons. So long story short, maximum you need per property is just under 30,000. So is 30,000, how many of you think 30,000 is a lot of money in terms of saving? Is it achievable?
Yes.
If you were putting away £1,000 a month, at the end of the year, how much would you have? How many people can do part-time jobs and earn that equivalent of money? So if you count, the question to ask is, what are you doing with your 24 hours every day? Because if you're doing 24 hours, giving your 8 hours to your employer, what happens the rest of the time apart from praying time and eating and sleeping? Right? And that's the question to ask. So I had to evaluate, and I'm not just saying it, I had to personally evaluate, what am I doing with my 24 hours? And I never had these questions before until my mentor asked me, what do you do with your 24 hours? So right now, I was talking to Pastor Obia, who was saying, oh, you don't sleep, you're up or ever. That's because I'm trained my brain to be in that way of thinking mode to make sure my 24 hours, last time. Now, please don't get me wrong. I do play hard too, okay? I know how to have fun. I know how to work. I know how to do the different things. So it's a good balance.
Thank you so much. And I must say, just add to that, that's why I wrote the book, Package Your Passion to Make Some Money.
I love that.
Amen. So have you considered the model used by Asians to help each other get on the property ladder by coming together, putting funds together to assist each other?
I have actually, yes. So there's two ways, or two school of thought to that one. We did it before as a trial, and I keep hearing people in African communities saying things like, black people don't help each other, black people don't do this, women don't do that. It's nonsense. There are people out there who are doing it. Your job is to go and find them. Because even in Asian communities, there are those who don't do these things. We just don't get to hear of it. So I tried it with somebody. We did two opportunities. And basically, she had some cash. I had put some money down. We found a property and did it together. She made profit, so did I. She meant something. So now she's gone on to carry on doing all of that. The next thing is looking at commercial developments. Right, that's my next big thing. Because obviously, if you're going to be raising more money, we could come together as a collective. So I've come and saying that there's this thing going on here. Do you want to be a part of it? Then it's up to you. If you're not ready, of course you'll miss out. You end up becoming one of those who says, black people don't help each other. Just because you're not part of it. Does that make sense? So yes, it's happening, and yes, it will happen, and yes, it's still happening even today in other circles. And I belong to some of those circles.
Thank you for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense. So we're going to step out of the ones that keep saying, black people don't invest. If we start the process, guess what? The people that believe in it will join in as well. So how do you get around mortgage lenders who insist on you using their solicitor panel, who are expensive and inefficient?
We do it ourselves. So the same way you do your due diligence on a property, same thing for human beings. Because at the end of the day, they're just human beings. So it's, we've been through a lot. And even in the pandemic, some people showed the other different colors we didn't know about. We had to leave them. That's why we only got two that we're looking at for others as well. So it's a constant thing. Your team, your power team, is part of what you're currently doing. So, we go through the same due diligence. Look around, find others, recommendations. Now, people are very careful today, if you've noticed, very careful to make recommendations. So, nobody wants to have a bad name associated with a bad mortgage broker or bad solicitor. So, that's David's, I just put it on him. Go find somebody, we do the due diligence together, go find somebody, and that's all we're doing, isn't it? True?
Thank you. Just a few more. So if you decide to acquire a property as a sole trader, how many years income tax would you need to present to the banks to begin an agreement in principle?
Okay, setting up as a sole trader, if I just try and clarify that, this is based on how you're being set up as an entity so that you're efficiently set up for taxation purposes. So you're trying to be efficient in how you set it all up. However, that doesn't mean that it has a lot to do with how long it will take you to financial freedom. If your earning right now determines whether you end up as a high taxpayer or not. So if you're buying more properties, it's what you're adding to where you are right now. And therefore your accountant will tell you sole trader, limited company, or partnership, or corporation. So everything, and now you could move in stages. You can start off, if I'm earning 25 or 26,000 or even 30,000 for my job, it maybe doesn't make sense for me to have to shelter that investment into a limited company. So I will set up as a sole trader and do it that way because I'm still okay with the threshold. That's why it's circumstance driven. Don't be moved by all news around Section 24. That law is a tax law and taxes are always changing. So your adaptation to it just simply means that. So, in terms of buying, if you buy 3 or 4 properties and you move from 30K to 40K, still be okay. You buy 5 properties from 40K to 50K or 51K, you will pay that high one on the 1,000, not on the 50. So again, you just got to know that it's not general rule. Everyone according to their circumstances. And I am not a professional. The best person is accountant. Find a good one. Not just any street, like a high street accountant, property accountant. They know what they're talking about.
Thank you so much. So this is for somebody that doesn't actually own a property. So should I start from an investment property or should I buy a home first?
Depends on affordability. So if you're in London and it's going to cost you 100,000 to get started or 40,000 to get started and you've got 30, no brainer for me, you'll be like, get an investment property. And then when you've got money, you buy the other one. So, but if you've got enough money to get started for you to live in and you prefer to have a person, a home for you to live in, that's again the choice that you're making. And it's what you want to do around it. But the thing is, buying a house. Just buy a house.
Thank you. And the last one is, what is the probability, and I'm sure you've probably answered this, but I'll ask it anyway, if you have anything to add to it. What is the probability of someone who wants to go into property now, being able to get on the ladder, bearing in mind that has no access to immediate funds to be able to gather a deposit? What is the practicality of that happening?
Consider other ways of investing in property, and this is where you probably don't own the property, because if you can't afford to buy, remember I say then consider learning another strategy, or you rent, you do the lease options, those kinds of strategies, or even deal sourcing and packaging. You find, but the thing is, get the knowledge. If you don't know what you don't know, it's going to cost you. So you want to get the knowledge and then get on that journey. So yeah, go and do it. I recommend one book. If you've never heard of a guy called Steve Bolton, it's not because I like him because he's my mentor. His value system, a lot of the things are aligned with mine, and I'm a Christian. Other people out there, they're good people, they have a lot of knowledge, but their value systems. If you go and inspect what they do on the ground, it should align with, are they buying or are they selling me seminars? If someone is selling you a seminar, just do your own maths. There's 100 people in a room. At the end of a seminar, it's £500 to buy the course. And 100 people all take it up. How much money is that? How much? Tell me. Who has got a calculator? 15,000 in one weekend. You have a very good business model. So 50,000 in one weekend, how many do you need to do in a month? You can take away all your costs. Yeah. Now imagine the one who's charging $997. Now I'm not disputing seminars because I've been there and I prefer them and I like because I want to learn. I'm saying you invest in yourself, but don't become a seminar. I don't want to use that word. But that's the one, yeah? It's the fact that that's what you would do, isn't it? Yeah? But go and get their books. These guys deposit in their books. Steve Bolton, please, go and find his book. Just Google it on Amazon. $16.99 is the book. And that book, believe me, it will change your life. But to mentor you, he charges £120,000 to be mentored by him, and it's not him doing it, it's another person doing it. But the book is $16.99. The question is, will you read it?
Thank you so much. I know we're limited on time, but we don't want to take you for granted, so thank you so much for everything. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. God bless you.
I really am grateful. Honestly, I appreciate God and thank God for your lives, and thank you for honoring me and my son. We are truly, truly grateful. God bless you, and I look forward to 2023.
Yes.
Everyone having had addition to their current status in poverty. God bless you.